Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack, and today we're going to do the greatest Elseworld story ever told. Yes, greater than Gotham by Gaslight. Um, um, the New Frontiers in the Elseworld. It's kind of whatever continuity you want it to be. So I would still put this up there pretty close to it, if not up above it. It's possibly one of the greatest Justice League stories. The premise of this is what if a nail stopped the Kents from um, finding Superman as a baby in the rocket? What if something happened? They got stuck in the classic, the old, I think it's a Shakespeare line, for want of a nail, and it stops the Kents from going into town and seeing the rocket ship where they find the baby and take the rocket ship and the baby away and raise them to be the Superman we know, right? So this is kind of, they're utilizing, I guess, the post-crisis continuity. It's kind of a mix of both, whatever Alan Davis wanted to do since it's Elseworld. Right, but it utilizes some of the post-crisis stuff too, right? So, Alan Davis has done obviously stuff like Captain Britain, Excalibur, some X-Men stuff, some not just making it too lightly. There's some X-Men stuff. He's done X-Men. He's done with Clandestine, who kind of appeared in the Ms. Marvel series, and a couple of things with DC. I think he also did Superboy's Legion. He's done Kill Raven, um, and a bunch of other things. Avengers, Fantastic Four, Thor. But he started. No, he wrote when he was working with after Alan Moore left Captain Britain. He wrote the rest of the series of Captain Britain over in the UK before he came over to the US. Started on Batman and the Outsiders, where he originally wanted to do Aquaman, but they said, "Hey, Batman and the Outsiders is going to be a bigger deal," and he saw the Time and Tide. No, it's not Time and Tide, but it's the Aquaman miniseries by Craig Hamilton, and said, "Wow, that was really good." So he was like, Craig Hamilton kind of did a better job. But you can see Alan Davis. He has a lot of you can't see it that closely, but he has some Neil Adams in his layouts and some of his figures. But this point here, he kind of gave us a break on his babes, because his babes, of course, gorgeous, but he kind of had it so you wouldn't just be going for the babes, right? He kind of normalized his style with his all his women aren't, they're goddesses, but they're not like, at some point they would be so striking it'd be hard to get through the book, right? So this is one, again, another square bound, so I'm going to try my best to go through it for you guys. All right, so we start with the nail. So literally a nail, and we have a nice moment between the Kents, the moment we rarely see with them. They're a little bit younger, and they decide to go back in the house. All right. And you see here, Superman around, Luthor, from, I guess, post-crisis continuity, becomes the mayor. He's celebrated and loved. But they want aliens out. You can kind of see that already. So, I mean, right? We have Perry White, who runs the WGBS. We have Jimmy Olsen, who's the deputy mayor, and his struggles with superhuman people and aliens, and kind of talk it out. Talk about the history of stuff, and you can see Alan Davis would have been great. He did great covers for the JSA, almost a book. I mean, anyone can do those characters justice. I think Jim Lee did a nice poster. I think a lot of people should kind of take them on, but it's not always a big seller, right? And they go through all of the heroes, right? And this is, I think, the Parademon that was in Cosmic Odyssey. So this is going to be with a lot of Easter eggs, right? So to kind of flesh out the story and be like a true Elseworld, you're going to be able to see a bunch of things that either you know or you don't know, but it's going to have a lot of bits in here, right? And we got this hint of the story that kind of led to where the heroes kind of fell from favor when they're fighting the Mazmo, and they lost one of their ranks, but at the same time, the human Green Arrow was crippled, and now he's like dead set against the heroes, right? Man, he's just a mess right now, and then the heroes are dealing with this negative press, right? And they're trying to talk about it, and then even the people that kind of agree that maybe things, this is going to a negative light, but they said, what about Katara Hawkman, who was killed by a Mazmo, right? Did the husband die for nothing? And then they're still kind of talking it out, but they can't really figure out what's the best way to handle this negative sort of thing. And this is something that the Justice League really doesn't have to do, because they're usually just the guys that kind of handle business. Batman is like not really with it. They're still kind of hashing it out. Batman's like, enough, right? So they got someone to kind of help them with their PR, and that's going to be Lois Lane. So there's going to be bits like that where people and characters pop up, right? So we kind of have the Outsiders here, and Outsiders in this thing is run by Black Canary, who's, working outside the law, and saying he struggled because he felt like a mascot. And her struggles with him being kind of going through that, right? So those kind of talk things over, but Batman is not with it, right? It's like he's not there to scare regular people. He scares criminals, and you can see her kind of being a little scared here. So you can see the talent that he has. What else here, right? So there's going to be little struggles, and see, you have these bits where you get to see the characters at different stages. And Catwoman, she's doing a thing in her Jim Ballon outfit. Joker comes, and he's hooked up with something that he shouldn't be hooked up with, right? And they're trying to figure out who might be behind this thing. They're going through all the names. So this leads you into it. This is going to be a mystery. How did Joker get these things? Who's behind all this negative press? Getting all this information out. And Batman gets this, something he has to go to Arkham. Right? So he breaks out. This is like he was made to do Green Lantern, but of course they didn't let it happen. Right? And then the truth behind the mask. Struggling with aliens. Right? And then here we have the two scientists kind of connecting, right? So there's this sort of dark, see the dark sort of mood here, and I'm trying to blend in, even though these guys they're kind of the outsiders here. So there's kind of a lot of cool stuff bits here to give you this feel, this blue element. The heroes kind of talking out their struggles, but you kind of feel the mood, and it's a different mood from what you've seen in the Justice League type of books before, right? So, and as in some of the greater minds where they're trying to figure out this issue, we have the chief being knocked out, right? And then, of course, they're attacked. So then there's this military group that's taken in, obviously, the paranormals are going under higher scrutiny, right? So there's this thing, and Robin and Batgirl are kind of the happy-go-lucky sort of characters for Batman, and Batman is like serious, and he goes in and leads them out. Now, one of the things, this is going to touch on the stuff that's happened to both Robin and Batgirl, right? So this obviously would be Jason Todd, and this would be Barbara Gordon, right? And as Green Lantern goes, he's going to go help fight off Sinestro, and they realize the Earth is sealed. Nobody can escape. So it's like, and whatever he tries to do sucks the power out. Now, Star Sapphire is, I believe, the evil version of his girlfriend. So she kind of has a hot form too. And as they go, we see a dead Adam Strange. And the Zeta Beam that sends them here kind of blocked them out. So we get a lot of different Easter eggs as we go through this series, right? So this is where we get to the key of the story, the climax of this portion of the story. So Joker has this stuff. He's going through all of Batman's villains in Arkham, and so Catwoman's trying to do her thing, and she's close to getting Joker, but then right before he's about to take her out, Batman comes along. Batman's doing pretty well, but he has all these new sort of things that take Batman, totally by surprise, and he gets captured. So then Batgirl and Robin join to help, but whatever Joker has is way too powerful, right? So I could easily crush you, but he decides to torture Batgirl and Robin right in front of him. And this is what we've seen in the Death in the Family and The Killing Joke. And at the same time, all this terrible stuff's going on Earth, but at the same time, there's a big New Genesis War and Apocalypse. This is just starting up, right? And they've captured Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, and the war is going to happen, right? Between the two planets. And so at the same time, that big cosmic drama is happening. Batman has to see this, and then Catwoman comes in to help. That gives Batman a moment to take out these things that on Joker's arm, which Batman didn't know about, so he immediately takes them out. They get into a fight, but Batman is kind of incensed now. So then, this other thing, as we go along, we're going to get these nice splash pages of each of the heroes. So this is the first one, and Joker still has some fight in him, but Batman is like, and he breaks him. Right there, he crack. Right? And then he's killed the Joker, and he's on camera. Right? And what Lois said, you're your own worst enemy, Batman. You've been blinded by your crusade that you'll provide just cause for the media to portray the metahumans as monsters. And they didn't know what kind of creature Batman was because he was always hidden from the shadows, right? So that's the first story. Whew. I don't know, you guys want me to do this whole thing? I could do it. Oh, this is issue 2. I can't. So that's another nail. This is the climax, right? So go to this one. Lois is doing her thing. It's always good to have a quiet moment, and Lois sees what happens. So her job is in jeopardy, and Perry is complaining about Batman, and Batman comes in there. He said, "What about the Robin and Batgirl? They're dead." And Batman, after seeing them dead, has lost it, right? So now with this negative sentiment, they have to talk it over again. This is one of the things that's kind of forgotten about with Justice League. A lot of times they talk out a lot of stuff, right? So the Green Lanterns know something is going on Earth, but they have to deal with the battle with the new gods and the new gods, right? of Apocalypse and New Genesis. All right, so we get to see another Easter egg of John Jones' true form, and everyone here, every artist like Perez, Byrne, they like to go back to the heavy brow of John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, but he's saying his ring is kind of acting up with this going on, talking about this thing out in space, right? So then we could see all these different areas that have been taken out, all these other criminals that could have done the stuff. I'm not sure why all this thing, but Amazemo's back. He's doing his thing. And we get a nice splash page for the Flash, and Amazemo gets taken out because he's an android. And the old school Alan Davis, this shot here would be really front and center because we know Taya is gorgeous. And I have to say his Catwoman here is beyond. I mean, he drew Catwoman from before and it was gorgeous, but it's just beyond here, right? So here we got the Atom doing his thing, and he kind of gives a Neil Adams. Same like Byrne, both of them kind of touched on this when they did like miniature characters, trying to get the Neil Adams out of these guys, and it's way cool, right? And they try to kill Metamorpho, and he's on the run. So it's all this stuff happening, but you see Perry knocked out. But at the same time, something's happening to Luthor, right? So it kind of says, we're not sure who the person behind all this. It would seem like Luthor would be the guy, but he seems like he's a mess too. So here, since Alan Davis didn't get to Aquaman, who's one of his favorite characters, now he's finally getting to touch on him, right? He does great hair in water. His hair is flowing in there. This is close to how Adam Hughes kind of did it. So it's cool to see this, but he had a little different effects, right? He takes out the Ocean Master, but then something stops, some shockwave stops them. So Perry White is dead. Luthor's hospitalized. Everything's going wrong. Batman is catatonic. So then to bring him out of it, Robin appears. And it's Ashley Selena trying to get him to snap out of it. And he can't stop seeing the death of his partners, right? And as more as Green Lantern tries to deal with it, his file starts painting, but he's trying to find the source, right? As he gets to the source, he runs into his two villains that kind of mess with him. But he is not, of course, not ready. But as they're ready to get information out of him, they all start falling out, just like Luthor did, right? The cameras, of course, are on. So he tries to get out of there. And so we see the outsiders, they're going to try to figure things out, and they go to what would be a fortress of solitude, right? And something that we don't see takes him out. So obviously, whatever this thing is pretty immensely powerful, right? We see all the people that have been captured so far, right? So we get into more of the, like you can see the Alan Davis babes, like good Lord, right? And as we go along, we're not gonna stop, right? So here we got another bit, right? In this research facility where they're keeping all of these heroes and characters, this Dolphin, and we have Lana Lang, right? And Lana Lang meets Lois, but she gives her something, goes to the Kent farm for the truth, right? So, and this is the closest we get to a true Alan Davis babe, right? And we see Metamorpho getting attacked. They finally caught up with Metamorpho, but he's been doing all this crazy stuff. this guy's hitting on this girl, but it's actually John Jones. So that's always good to kind of, when you personate someone, you should never expect who it is, right? And we regretfully see they made him do it. Made him do all this crazy stuff, and then once he's able to break free, but John Jones has not had it because he just saw Metamorpho died, right? And found you're merely puppets, right? And he goes in. We see the Amish kind of walking by, and we see the Kent farm. And if we tell them, and the truth is, some of the heroes are there, and she's taking in a bunch of them. That's why Lana sent them there, to find out the truth. They're growing these creatures in there, and she tells them what's happening. We're going to find out more about that, but then we see John getting attacked, right? So let's kind of get to this. I don't even know how long I'm going, right? So we get Batwoman, and Alan Davis shows how great, even though it was supposed to be kind of black with the yellow highlights, it's gorgeous, so I'll take it. And we get to here, we get all of the mystical characters, and the Spectre's like, no, you guys shouldn't get involved. This has nothing to do with magic. So, and says, when they survive, he said, if they survive, right? So then we get to see the characters from the Swamp Thing, right? And they kind of help out and give some information. But at the same time, the White House, that's a Capitol building, gets destroyed, right? So of course the Metal Men are being controlled too. So Wonder Woman's going against this. So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of Easter eggs here, which is not a problem. It's when you're going to get to see Alan Davis do all of these characters. And as Wonder Woman is able to take out these guys, and then realizes it's programmed, but then she's dropped, hit from behind, right? And all these, so Luther has all these creatures, or this new military that's coming out, and it's kind of funny because I was always thinking of the story where Luther would get Superman under his command, and he would have some sort of suit that. But anyway, see Carter Hall, and they put a thing on him, Alien Scum. So it kind of has the X-Men Marvel feel, but this all would happen if Superman was gone. This dark sort of approach to the characters, right? So she sees some people in trouble. She's still gonna go out and help. So she helps these kids. Then the police are like, freeze, alien. And then the people kind of stand beside her. So we start to see the shift, but then this military service just takes her out, right? And look, Selena has never been hotter. I love when Batman has the cape and the cowl off, just in his grace. And Bruce is still struggling, but she kind of helps him out. And we got old school Alfred here, who's by his side, right? No puns and none of that stuff. But then we get to see these clones, the Kryptonian connection, right? So as Lois is checking out her stuff, she runs into Jimmy, and she's not sure she can trust him. But then we see Luthor isn't behind anything. We get to see this funky crypto here, and then as he's trying to shoot crypto, we find out it's Jimmy with Superman's powers. And we're like, what the hell? And then, of course, Batman gets involved. But Batman has one of those things that the Joker had, and he's able to use this against these creatures, right? He sees there's some struggle with the combination. We have the post-crisis ship, everything that he found. Jimmy was the one who, Luthor goes in it, finds it, and it works with all the stuff works with Jimmy, but then Jimmy takes over and mind controls Luthor, right? So these things start to break up, but then of course Jimmy shows that he's bonded with the Kryptonians, and he realizes it can't be unique. There should be another one, but not sure where it is. Right? So, as the heroes try to deal with all these like Bizarro type clones, and they slowly take on the military force, they run into Superman powered Jimmy, who kind of makes short work of the Justice League. Wonder Woman kind of gives a little hold back, but then Green Lantern comes in and kind of is able to bust through that. Batman comes, is ready to fight. Oh, he split the things. They made him work, and they use it against him, but none of that stuff works against him because he's Kryptonian, right? Batman's still not, he's not with her getting hurt. And luckily, Green Lantern powers Batman so he can fight against them, and the ring figures out all of the physics so Batman can fight him, and the speed and all that stuff. And as they're fighting, the Amish try to tell them to stop fighting, right? And when he tries to kill the Amish, he runs into Kal-El. And Kal-El doesn't know his name is Kal-El, right? So then he's like, hey, we should join together. Kal-El has no parts of it. He's nothing like him. He said, but hey, you're Kryptonian. You don't have to do this. You're supposed to rule. He's going to help Batman, and Batman's like, hey, you got the power to stop this guy, do it. But at the same time, this is why we've never seen him. The Amish is like, you're not supposed to get involved. And he's like, what? You've been blinded by, Jimmy's like, you've been blinded by this religious cult thing, and let me get rid of them. And then Superman, this is what broke me, because he sees his parents, his adopted parents die, killed, and then he fights back finally. So you can tell this sort of thing where he's taught not to fight, and then now he has no choice. But it's not a thing of revenge. It's a thing for kind of, he's crying here. Yeah, this thing really broke me. I just read it earlier today. And then you have this nice splash page here. We get to see no one wants to leave to see the fight. And as it's going, Jimmy didn't truly bond with it. He ran out too. He lasted longer than it, but it never fully fused. And he's falling apart. And Kal-El, who doesn't even know he's Kal-El, has no part of that history. And then the Green Lanterns come. They're not sure why the field is gone, but Adam took care of it. And this is what broke me, where Superman looks at his parents and he's just broken. And this is where Batman is the one to tell the rest of them that even though the Kryptonian heritage kind of infected Jimmy, Superman or Kal-El didn't want any of that. That's why he would trust him, right? And as he's sitting there crying, the Kents come to help him. And this is what broke me here. So you have this great moment. And Superman, this turns out, even though Superman barely appears in it, it's a Superman story. And then he joins the Justice League. All right, so there we go. Another nail is below this, but can't believe I got through it. So I need another video to go up. So I hope you guys liked it, but I should say spoilers. I will put that in the title. Spin Rack out.